Off and on, for the last few months, I've been having issues with my van. Some small issues mostly that don't need lots of attention, but enough to make me want to get them fixed. So, one morning I hopped in the van and drove to Korce to my friend Tommy's house so we could work on these issues. Well, so he could work on the issues and I could watch and learn a bit more about the van. Tommy and I have worked on the van together before, earlier this year, but this time it was much warmer outside. Oh yeah, everything. So this is what's been happening with the car and why I need to get it fixed. I'm on my way to Korce to get it fixed. I get this glow plug light flashing, RPMs sit at 1100, and the gas pedal has no response whatsoever. And then I turn off the car and I turn it back on and everything works fine. But we're almost to Korce. And in the middle of the drive, I had a meeting scheduled, so I pulled off to the side of the road and made a video call for about 20 minutes. If they email somebody on a Monday, they might not get a response till Thursday. Then Tommy spent some time under the hood trying to find out if there's a wiring issue. From some really basic tinkering, messing with the wires didn't trigger the issue.
So
what's going on with this?
I was talking with Jordan. He said that his first step would be potentially cleaning the contacts on that too, like we were going to do on the brake.
Yeah.
He said it could be also on that end, not necessarily over here.
Okay, that's fair.
Can't rule out, but the problem is how do we know whether we've solved it or not?
When I drive home.
Right.
That's the problem.
Like, okay, well,
yeah, I don't think you'll ever know if it's solved. That's the problem.
It's so mysterious
that was why I wanted to go to the wires, because if the wires are broken...
And I wiggled every wire coming through there, shook all the looms there, it comes out through the firewall there.
Because it'll be one of these that would be the problem.
Yeah, and
right?
I was shaking all this stuff and following where they all went, shaking them down here by the fuel rail, and nothing changed. So we cleaned the contacts for the gas pedal and called it good for now. Hopefully, this will get rid of the issue for a bit. Sprayed some cleaner.
You just sprayed it down?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it was that easy to take off.
Yeah. So
I have so much to learn about this car.
Is as you move the pedal, those little things run across that circuit board.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense. And it seems like whenever you start working on repairs to your car, every other problem shows up too. One of my brake light bulbs decided to stop working, so we went to the shop to grab a new one. And since we were there, we decided to pick up a couple more things that I've been wanting to put together on the van.
When you're on road at night as like normal brights.
Right.
Where if you have the whole bar lit up, it might be overkill or whatever, but in general, those things are a lot.
Yeah. But that shop didn't have all the parts we needed to wire the things up well, so we had to go find some relays in a junkyard.
What T4 parts did you need? What are you about to ask? Try to find one that's like Kibosh or something, Fiat, whatever. Oh, but that's got 3 legs. I don't know how that would work.
And we spent some time wiring up the relay to increase the electrical safety to the LED bar. Then we looked for a place to mount the new LED bar that I had bought. Really? One of the frustrations of owning an old vehicle is lots of things break down. But the benefit is that most of the stuff is relatively easy to fix. It's not computer chips and these kinds of things. Now we take off the bumper. Maybe, if we can.
A couple years ago, somebody changed my oil.
But it seemed like it would be a much bigger job and take much longer than we had time for. So we decided to leave it for another day. And I really appreciate people like Tommy. He has skills that I do not have, and he's more than willing to use those skills to help other people out. Most of the things that I like about my van would not be possible if it weren't for Tommy and the other people who have used their time to help me. I hope one day that I can do this kind of thing on my own, but it takes time and it takes practice to learn it. So for now, I mostly just watch Tommy do the hard work, and I will help out with the little things that I can do. And somewhere along the line, I didn't close the fridge door all the way, which caused everything in it to go bad. I was told to get it working again, I needed to totally defrost it. So I left it outside of the house for a couple of days so it would drain into the driveway, and then brought it back into the kitchen. But that gave me the great opportunity to cook a ribeye that I had bought in Greece a few weeks ago and frozen in a separate freezer. It wasn't the best sear I've ever done, but it didn't stop the steak from being absolutely delicious. Somehow, the puppies found a way to escape the fence.
Dude, they just squeezed right underneath there.
Oh my, yeah.
It has happened numerous times. The first time, the neighbors found them while I wasn't at the house, and they kept them until I was able to return. I thought I closed off their escape route, but then a few days later I saw them outside again, antagonizing a cow. Luckily, they listened to me enough that they came running when I called. And I think I found the other exit, so I created a makeshift barrier until I can get someone to come and actually repair the fence. But it didn't work for more than a few hours before they made another hole. I guess this is something I'll just be dealing with for the next few weeks. And one day, I drove to the airport to pick up my friend Tyler, who was flying in on a midnight flight from Barcelona. He's a tattoo artist based in Salt Lake City, Utah, and has been making YouTube videos. He was on this side of the world, and I've enlisted his help in finishing up my tattoo sleeve, something that has been left unfinished since the summer of 2020. And I'm insanely excited to get it finished, and for the strong meaning behind this last segment.
In what context? Like right now.
After the late night drive back from the airport, Tyler and I slept in and ate a big meal for lunch before we went on the day's adventure.
Oh, that looks so good. You know it's gonna taste good when
Labradors as strays. Yeah, they are cool. My friend Tino came to hang out with us and help film so that we can tell this story in the best way possible. And then we all hopped into the van and decided to drive into the mountains for a little bit of adventure before the sun went down.
So you gotta connect the control?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't have a battery?
I love this thing too. My sister made that for me.
That's cool.
It's a little potted plant.
Very cute. How many sisters you got?
4.
And brothers of 6?
5.
5.
There's 6 boys in the family, but I have 5 brothers.
Oh man, that's nice.
Oh, yeah, the rain really cleared everything up. Wow. It feels so weird to have like someone filming.
I feel it.
Oh my God. I just have to go to the adventure and I don't have to think about anything else.
Thanks.
Oh man, that is a crazy view. It's all good.
What were you saying?
The hen is Monday, yeah?
I have no idea the days of the week.
You don't know the days of the week?
No,
You're
no.
useless.
Hey man, I don't know. I'm forgetting more Albanian than I'm learning Albanian these days. It's a skill set.
I'm not an experienced off-road driver by any means, but I'm constantly impressed at the capabilities of this 23-year-old van of mine. And the problem that Tommy and I tried to fix didn't show itself. So maybe it actually was fixed.
Yes, sir.
I guess time will tell.
I've seen clips of T4s like this.
Yeah. Tyler and I met in 2021 when I ran into some friends on the beach in Pogradec. He and his wife were staying with my friends and we spoke for a bit about YouTube. But when I reached out to him in recent months about finishing the design for my tattoo, it kickstarted something unexpected. We started connecting more over creating art, specifically videos on YouTube, and often would have phone calls back and forth about what we had been working on. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This journey can be very lonely at times, but having someone else to discuss things with and to bounce ideas off of can make all the difference. And it couldn't have come at a better time for me. A time at which I've been trying to reinvent what I put on the platform. A time where I try to focus more on telling a relatable story rather than trying to get the most clicks. And then we had to go back to the house a bit earlier than we had wanted because I got another call that the dogs had gotten out again.
Let's go find this hole. You can't even see it on camera. They just... What did they do? Did they like chew it, or did they just push and it came undone? That's crazy.
They might have chewed it, actually.
It almost looks better on my phone.
Oh, iPhone does that, you know?
Yeah. Tyler being here is so much more important to me than just finishing my tattoo. He has experience in doing things that I want to do, and is willing to share his knowledge about those things. So over dinner, Tino and I picked his brain on a lot of different topics. One thing that I would love to do is create a collection of clothing that promotes some of my favorite places in Albania, and maybe even around the world. I've spoken with an artist about some of my ideas, and he's currently working on a few designs. But Tyler has some knowledge about the business side of these things, and talking to him has helped me figure out ways to try and make what I'm doing as successful as possible. And then after dinner and conversation, he showed me the tattoo design for the first time. Okay, don't be quite so music video with it. Like that. I don't like that, bro. Like,
but this is like the fire part about it, though. I'm documenting
I
the
just
moment,
need
so
you
I'm
to
like
be-
catching reactions.
I just need you to be a tripod that can move a little bit. Okay, all right. He got locked out. He typed in the wrong code. Oh, dang.
Is that genuine?
No, I really like it.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I have is very cluttered. Mm-hmm. And I was really hoping for something that had space and let the whole thing breathe. Yeah.
We got that. So this is foreground, all the light ones. Then the black ones are more like the black background. And just to add a little more element, because if we don't have that,
it looks weird.
It's empty.
Yeah,
it's too empty.
Of course.
And we have lots of stalks. So like this one has light stalk.
Right.
And then all these other ones have black stalks just to give you that depth.
Right. Yeah.
And then I made it so it floats.
Tattoos for me are something so special. It was during the years I lived in Hawaii that really instilled in me the significance they can hold. In Hawaii, I rarely saw anyone without tattoos. And not only that, if you asked someone about their tattoos, they had deep-rooted significance. Many times the shapes and swirls of the Polynesian style would tell the story of someone's life. It would tell of their ancestors and of their descendants, the trials and the triumphs. So much time and thought goes into the design and the application, and people are proud to display them, showing who they are. Every single one of my tattoos has a deep meaning for me. And if you ever see me, please feel free to ask me about them because I love telling those stories. They are about how I've grown or changed over time, things that I've learned, or a representation of where I've come from. I got my first tattoo in Hawaii, the day before I moved away. I came to the artist with an idea and gave him some freedom in how he put it into practice. It's the same as I did with Tyler for this design. I told him the elements that I wanted, but gave it to him with full trust and confidence that he would deliver something incredible. The tattoo sleeve on my arm tells my life story. My forearm has stalks of wheat, a tribute to the fields that surrounded the house I grew up in. Then, slightly above that, mountains. In my case, the metaphorical mountains that it took to climb out of the wheat fields in pursuit of my dreams. On my upper arm, there's a tower. It's the representation of my college years, where I fulfilled my biggest childhood dream of playing collegiate basketball. But to make it a more accurate portrayal of my time in college, I added cracks into the tower and vines growing on it to depict my increasing struggle with depression and how it slowly but steadily crept into my life during that time. And then sitting above the tower is an olive branch, a sign of peace, the national tree of Albania, the place that gave me peace when I needed it the most. When I moved back from Hawaii, and my mother saw my tattoo for the first time, she did not seem thrilled. Growing up, I was always under the impression that the people with tattoos had made mistakes when they had gotten them. They all regretted them. So remembering that, her reaction wasn't surprising. It wasn't a negative reaction, at least not what I could tell, but it definitely wasn't positive. But once I started explaining to her the tradition of the tattoos in the Hawaiian culture and what they represent, I felt her start to warm up to the idea. So much so that she has since told me stories of other people she has seen with tattoos and asked them about their story, embracing the art of tattoos as something impactful. So this one is for my mom, a daisy, the birth flower for the month of April. And rising above it is a larkspur for my dad, which represents the month of July. Then, after hours of lying on the kitchen table, we spent the evening relaxing and chatting and tried to get to bed early to rest up for the full day we had ahead of ourselves. And the next morning we woke, not so early thanks to the end of daylight savings, but early enough to get out on an adventure. I decided to take Tyler and Tino to a place I've only been one time, and that time I'd gone alone, which makes it a bit less fun to reminisce about. So we headed into the mountains and towards the villages of Mokra. There are a few cool spots to stop along the road that I chose for us, but the two biggest draws for me are the views during the drive itself and the final destination. Nonetheless, we pulled off for a quick stop at the bridge of Golik, a bridge that has been standing for centuries, allegedly part of the Via Egnatia that connected Rome to Constantinople back in the day. And after about 10 minutes, we were back on the road because we still had almost 2 hours of mountain road driving ahead of us. I absolutely love this part of living in Albania. It takes less than an hour for me to be on a dirt road winding into the most remote parts of the country. And there's so much diversity in what you see along a trip like this. Beautiful old stone houses, with some totally in ruins. You'll drive past Mercedes sedans making their way to their grandparents' village. Or you might have to slow down to allow a farmer to lead his sheep down the narrow road. And the views of the landscape you get through the windows is just simply breathtaking. I even found some of those fall colors I was wishing for a few weeks ago. The entire experience is really something that is hard to explain in words. It's something that you have to be present for. And I wish all of you could feel that, if you haven't already. Because I've only been to this spot once, I took a wrong turn, and the road deteriorated quickly. Deep mud puddles and massive branches. I knew it didn't feel right because we should have been to our destination by then, but I wanted to go a little further just to make sure. And eventually, I decided that we should turn back, but this little detour taught me that my van is much more capable than I give it credit for. It's honestly probably capable of far more than I will ever need from it, and that gives me some comfort, knowing that it is a workhorse that can really get through some tough situations. Also, it tells me that Tommy knew what he was doing, despite what he might say, as the problem I had had was nowhere to be found. And when we got back to the main road, I turned the correct way, and in less than 5 minutes, we were in an open meadow at the top of the mountain, on the border between two regions overlooking other mountains with rivers snaking between them.
I'll put my light in a bottle, something to guide your way.
All of us were famished, so we ate some snacks and started a fire so we could cook our lunch.
Even if you're too scared to follow, there's a light in each new day. If the moon gives up rising, the sun stops it shining, you know you'll have a hand to hold. As we wait on the timing. Together we find it. There's more than one way to go home.
Every so often, it randomly hits me that I get to live this kind of life. I'm not out on some mountaintop cooking lunch and watching epic sunsets every day of my life, of course, but the fact that I get these types of days relatively frequently is no accident. I set my life up like this on purpose. I learned skills that allow for working remote jobs. I moved thousands of miles away from my home country to somewhere relatively unknown to the world. I've made sacrifices, and these are the times that I see those sacrifices pay off. And I just cannot explain the energy I feel when talking with people who share similar passions. It's invigorating. The entire time we spent in the car, which was a lot over these days, was spent talking about our passions and the aspirations we have for our work and lives. And if you want to see the videos Tyler makes, I'll put his links in the description.
As we wait on the timing, together we find it. There's more than one way to go home. If the moon gives up rising, the sun stops it shining, you know you've got a hand to hold. As we wait on the timing, together we find it. There's more than one way to go home. Yeah, there's more than one way to go home.
And then the next morning, on the drive to Tirana, Tyler and I decided to stop by a cave I had never been to. We weren't exactly sure where to go, and when we asked this restaurant owner, he offered to drive us to the trailhead and refused any payment. We weren't sure what to expect from the hike, but for a quick stop, about 15 minutes from Tirana, it was a pleasant surprise. And the cave itself was spectacular. I had forgotten my headlamp, so we weren't able to venture into it very deep. But I'm sure I'll come back here someday to explore it more. And then we drove to Tirana and checked into our hotel near the airport. We spent the evening watching and analyzing YouTube videos from a variety of creators, geeking out over something that we both love and want to get better at, trying to absorb any knowledge that we can from other creators and from each other. It's really been an unbelievable few days, and I'm so thankful for them. I'm thankful for friends who create and who think deeply and who want to have good and honest conversations. I keep saying it over and over and over again, but my life can get lonely, being a creator and also being an expat. But weeks like this make me feel not so alone in the world. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll be back soon.